So I'm not concerned about war. What I'm concerned of is miscalculations and military operation based on misinformation and disinformation campaigns. It is obvious to us that there are certain elements, certain parties who want to drag President Trump into this war for their own benefits. And I think President Trump is wise enough to make a correct decision.
How can a meaningful negotiations process be jump-started right now?
A meaningful negotiation should be based on trust. And unfortunately, we have lost our trust to the United States as a negotiating partner. We need to overcome this mistrust. There are now some intermediators, some friendly countries in the region who are trying to build this confidence. It is difficult, but they are trying. So I see the possibility of another talk if the US negotiation team follows what President Trump said.
All right, let's get into it because this interview says way more than the media wants you to notice. And if you actually listen closely, Iran is telling us exactly how they think. All right, folks, buckle up, because what you're about to hear is another perfect example of how America's enemies talk when they feel pressure. And make no mistake, this Iranian foreign minister interview only happened because President Trump put real power back on the table. Let's start at the very beginning. The foreign minister says he's not concerned about war, but he's worried about miscalculations and misinformation. That right, there's your first red flag. Whenever a hostile regime starts talking about misinformation, what they really mean is, we don't like the facts you're operating on. Because here's the truth. Iran didn't wake up one morning confused about America's intentions. They woke up realizing that Trump deployed a carrier strike group, and suddenly, the talking got softer, the tone got calmer, and the threats got wrapped in diplomatic language. Then comes the manipulation. He claims there are certain parties trying to drag President Trump into war, and he flatters Trump by saying he's wise enough to avoid it. Folks, this isn't respect. This is textbook psychological pressure. Iran wants Trump to hesitate. Iran wants Trump to second-guess his own intelligence. Iran wants Trump to believe that standing strong is somehow reckless. But let's be very clear. What scares Iran isn't war, it's American resolve. Now let's talk negotiations.
We fully agree with that. That could be a very good deal. Of course, in return, we expect sanction lifting. So that deal is possible. Let's do not talk about impossible things.
What do you think the consequences would be if there was a full-on military confrontation between Iran and the United States? Because I know your military has changed its doctrine, that if there is a major attack, it would be considered existential for the Islamic Republic. What would that mean for the region here?
If war starts, that would be a disaster for everybody. In the previous war, we tried hard to limit the scope of war between Iran and Israel. This time, if it is between Iran and the US, since the US bases are spread all over the region, then inevitably, many parts of the region would be involved, engaged, and that could be very dangerous. Our missiles were tested in a real war last time, and we were able to understand their problems, their weak points, and their strengths. So we learned many lessons from those 12 days of war, and I think we are now very well prepared. But again, being prepared doesn't mean that we want war. We want to prevent a war.
The foreign minister admits that trust between Iran and the United States is broken, but notice how he frames it. He says Iran has lost trust in America. That's rich. Who funded proxy militias? Who attacked oil tankers? Who armed terrorists across the region? Who violated nuclear agreements? It wasn't the United States. Iran didn't lose trust, they lost leverage, and now they want it back. And here's the moment the media will clip and run with. Iran says they fully agree with President Trump's demand no nuclear weapons. Sounds great, right? But then comes the catch sanctions relief. Every single time. This is the same scam we've seen for decades. Iran promises restraint, gets the money, builds power behind the scenes, and then dares the world to stop them later. This isn't diplomacy, it's extortion disguised as cooperation. Then the mask slips. When asked about a full-scale war, suddenly the tone shifts. He starts talking about U.S. bases across the region, missiles tested in real war, lessons learned, weak points identified. That is not peace talk. That is a warning shot. Iran want America to know they're ready not because they want war, but because they believe fear can replace deterrence. And that only works if the United States backs down. But here's what really matters, folks. Iran is talking right now because Trump showed strength first. No apology tour. No cash palettes. No begging at the negotiating table. Just power. That carrier strike group wasn't a provocation. It was a reminder. A reminder that America still has the ability to defend its interests, protect its allies, and enforce red lines. And suddenly, talks are fruitful. Suddenly, intermediaries are involved. Suddenly, Iran is open to dialogue. Amazing how that works. They even deny reports of executions and promise detainee rights because when pressure's on, regimes like to start caring about optics. Whether it's true or not, the timing tells you everything. So let's wrap this up. This interview wasn't about peace. It wasn't about trust. And it definitely wasn't about goodwill. It was about buying time, easing pressure, and testing Trump's resolve. And here's the good news. Iran knows Trump isn't weak. They know he doesn't bluff. And they know that when America stands strong, their options shrink fast. Peace through strength works, and this interview proves it. That's the reality they don't want you to hear. And folks, if you're tired of the media spin and you want real talk that puts America first, make sure you hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people who actually care about the truth. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any breaking reactions, deep dives, and unapologetic America First commentary. Share this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know, is Iran serious about peace or just buying time again? Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one.